Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Ms. McCabe, for being here. I want to thank my colleagues for letting me jump ahead because I have another commitment in a few minutes, and I'll be brief. Ms. McCabe, as you know, I submitted requests for documents on these rules and development of these rules last Congress. Now, EPA is still producing some of those documents, but from what has been produced, there is a really dramatic pattern of very frequent, detailed meetings and phone calls and emails between EPA and NRDC, a leading outside environmental group. Again, the number of these communications is pretty staggering and unprecedented as far as I can see. But in addition, there's some correspondence between EPA and NRDC that has not been produced or posted to the docket. Why is that, and will that excluded correspondence and documentation be submitted?
Senator, I'm not exactly sure of the answer to that question. I'll be glad to get back to you on that.
Okay, if you could get back to us, and hopefully that's going to be corrected in terms of the docket by including that additional correspondence and documentation. Now again, some things have been produced by EPA already, and again, it shows a level of communication and detail and consultation that I think is pretty staggering. Let me put up one email, June 2013, before the rule was proposed, and in this, NRDC Attorney Dave Hawkins advised Senior EPA Air Official Joe Goffman, quote, "As long as the compliance date for the FIP 111D emission limits is a few years after the SIP submission deadline, it appears that EPA can promulgate backstop FIP limits even in advance of the June 2016 SIP submission date," close quote. This is very detailed advice, direction, I would say, before the rule was even proposed. Do you think that sort of thing is appropriate?
Senator, we get a lot of detailed advice from a lot of people and have many meetings with a lot of different stakeholders who weigh in with us. And we take all of that input and we put it in a proposed rule, which is fully open for everybody to look at. And if the rule is not grounded in science and the law, then people tell us that, and that's how we proceed.
Prior to this email, had EPA even considered issuing a model FIP?
I can't speak to exactly when we would have had those conversations, but I can assure you that the notion of a federal implementation plan is fully laid out in the Clean Air Act, and that is what is motivating us to think about the need for a backstop federal plan.
Well, if you could follow up and answer that question directly, whether EPA considered issuing a model FIP prior to the email, that'd be useful. Did NRDC's advice have significant bearing on the model FIP EPA is now developing?
We have not yet proposed a model FIP. We're going through that process right now. We have gotten a number of comments in the public comment period from a variety of stakeholders urging us to consider doing a model FIP, and we will be working our way through the process to figure out what the appropriate proposal is.
And is EPA planning to issue its model FIP before the SIP deadline?
What we announced in January was that we intended to propose a FIP in this summer, around the same time that we finalize the 111B and 111D rules.
So that would be before the deadline, the other deadline?
It would be a proposal that, I'm not sure which deadline you're talking about, Senator. If you're talking about the deadline for states to submit plans, so that deadline has not yet been finalized. That will be finalized in the final rule. It will be, what we proposed was it would be 13 months after the 111D rule is finalized. So we'll have a proposed FIP out in the summer, and I would expect we would have that finalized within a year.
Okay. Well, I just want to point out that it's perfectly consistent with this direction and advice. Final question, Ms. McCabe. I continue to be very concerned with these very secretive the secretive work on social cost of carbon estimates. I'd asked you previously for the names and titles of those folks under your supervision in the Office of Air Radiation that have participated in the interagency working group. We haven't gotten that. Can you provide that to us?
Well, Senator, I mean, it really has not been a secretive process at all, and the GAO has confirmed that it was not an inappropriate process and that agencies across the government participated in it. It's not a process that the EPA was in charge of, and so I feel we've been responsive.
Can you provide me the names and titles of those folks under your supervision in the Office of Air Radiation that participated in the interagency working group?
Senator, I'll take that question back, and we will get you a response to that.
Okay, so it's not a secretive process, but you won't commit to that.
It's not a secretive process.
And if it's not, will you commit to that?
I will commit to get back to you on that
Okay,
question.
so you won't commit to that. Thank you.